Astronauts to the moon.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jeranism, back with another video for you today. Hopefully you can hear me, which you probably can't. So I do apologize for all the issues as I'm trying to figure out exactly how to best present these broadcasts for you. So one second, I'm going to make sure that my volume is good. Hope everyone in the chat is doing well. And let's see here. Alright, can everybody hear me? That's what I'll ask first, and make sure that everyone in the chat can, and if that's the case, then we will begin. Thank you very much, appreciate that. To Stock Jockey, appreciate it. Everybody, hello, how is everyone? I hope you're well. I really do. So I've been trying to, as I said, present this in a effective and visually appealing manner, so hopefully that begins happening tonight. If not, it'll begin happening soon. So what I wanted to do first was to kind of go through exactly why I think we should be questioning the going model, the currently accepted model. And so we will begin that right about now. And what we're going to be beginning with is something interesting I saw. This was I thought it was funny, for myself at least. In the Urban Dictionary, someone added Jeranism, which I thought was classic. It says, the religious practice of believing only what you can prove, and then to use it in a sentence, I can't believe in space, I've decided to follow Jeranism. I thought that was very funny. So thank you to Henry Hernandez III. I wanted to go through a couple quotes real quick, just so you understand where I'm coming from and why I think it's important. Starting with a quote by Carl Sagan, who said, finding the occasional straw of truth awash in a great ocean of confusion and bamboozle requires intelligence, vigilance, dedication, and courage. But if we don't practice these tough habits of thought, we cannot hope to solve the truly serious problems that face us, and we risk becoming a nation of suckers, up for grabs for the next charlatan who comes along. I agree with that statement. Maybe not quite in the direction he was aiming at, but I do agree with the quote. The next one says, if we are not able... Oops. And I see that what's going on here. You're not seeing what I'm seeing. There you go. Happy now? Now it's better for you. All right. So the first one, I'll just go back to where I was. But basically, I was looking at this. It was a Urban Dictionary, followed by this quote I just read. And now we're going to be on this one. So if we're not able to ask skeptical questions to interrogate those who tell us that something is truly... I'm sorry. Let's start again. If we are not able to ask skeptical questions to interrogate those who tell us that something is true, to be skeptical of those in authority, then we are up for grabs for the next charlatan, political or religious or scientific, who comes along rambling. So whether or not he meant for that, they're usually aiming that at religions. I, on the other hand, think that we need to aim it at everyone. So you might ask, why do we have a question, right? Why are we questioning the standard model? Well, let's look at something that Michio Kaku said that I think is hugely important, that he was quoted in the movie The Principle. He said, usually in science, if we're off by a factor of 2 or a factor of 10, we call that horrible. We say something's wrong with the theory. We're off by a factor of 10. However, in cosmology, we're off by a factor of 10 to the 120. That is a 1 with 120 zeros after it. This is the largest mismatch between theory and experiment in the history of science. So that should tell us why we have a question and why we should question the current going belief or the current going theory, the standard accepted model. And if you don't have a problem with that, well then, more power to you. Enjoy the lies as they're told to you. Let me tell you where it started for me. This was one of the biggest things in my coming along, is looking at this world map that we were all taught as children, was in our classrooms, and realizing that there's a big problem with the equator, which should be in the middle, clearly not being in the middle. And so that's what kind of started me on my path, and just figuring out, wait a second, well, how, I don't understand it then. Why is the equator way down there? How does that all work out? How do maps work if the equator's wrong? I was just confused. And so that's what started me on my path. Another thing I saw recently that got me questioning schooling and everything that's going on with Common Core. This is a problem from a math test that a parent brought to everyone's attention on Facebook, and the question reads, Carol read 28 pages of a book on Monday and 103 pages on Tuesday. Is 75 pages a reasonable answer for how many more pages Carol read on Tuesday than on Monday? So for those of us math majors, first thing I looked at and said, okay, 103 pages on Tuesday and 28 on Monday. So I did the math in my head and said, okay, that's 75 pages more. Well, that's correct. So is 75 pages a reasonable answer for how many more pages Carol read on Tuesday than on Monday? Of course, anybody with any rational thinking mind would say, yes, 75 is a reasonable answer because 103 minus 28 equals 75. Excellent answer by the child, but actually the teacher marked it wrong. -1, because you're supposed to estimate and get 100 minus 30. Because if we look up there and we say, okay, well, she read 103 pages on Tuesday, you're supposed to round that down to 100. And then you take the 28 pages on Monday, round that to 30. 100 minus 30 is 70. Therefore, the teacher was looking for the incorrect answer of 70 rather than the correct answer of 75. That is horseshit. Let's go on. So why question the great and powerful NASA? That would be the question. Why even bring them into question? And we're not the only ones. I mean, look at some creative art that I've seen around lately. NASA Destination Imagination, and we've got these little fish in these nonsense little bubbles and boxes. So we're not the only ones to question. Everyone questions them. I question them. I made this little image of Buzz Aldrin saying, "You bet your ass we're liars," rather than "get your ass to Mars," which is what the original shirt is supposed to say. But anybody who tells me that this is an image of the Earth from some ungodly distance, like 800 million miles, if I'm not mistaken, I have a problem with that. And that's where the question should start, is wondering what is going on that we are... Look at this little thing here. You can even see like the little pixels around it. But that's not the only real picture of Saturn that we get. How about this one? There's people out there, many of them probably watching this show, that actually believe that this is a real image of the planet Saturn. Hard to believe for some, others they just accept it without question. Then we can look at the Mars rover, which is said to be currently traversing the Mars landscape. It's been there now for 5-6 years, doesn't matter. It was actually planned to only be in operation for 18 months, and they just keep getting more money at the end of each month or the end of each year as part of the budget to keep it going. Of course, if you've ever seen the show Short Circuit, the movie, 1 or 2, or they might have more than that. This is just like an exact copy of Johnny 5. Pretty sad. But people will believe anything that they're told. They're actually told that this here is a meteorite that crashed onto Mars. It's just a little glob of metal, and we're told this is a meteorite on Mars. Sure, but there's lots of things wrong with what NASA says. I saw this image recently, which I thought was impressive. Modern science says that there is no up and down in space. We've all heard that, correct? But when you add a tilt to the Earth's supposed axis, well, you're automatically adding a coordinate system where y is up and x is side. So therefore, there is up and there is down and there is side, which means that all planes must fly upside down and all people must stay upside down or sideways relative to one another. But that is simply impossible. Therefore, the Earth is not a globe. It was and is always a flat stationary plane. What a beautiful thing. So I thought that was a very good image, because it's true. They tell us there's no up and down in space, but then they apply all these coordinates and ideas and spin axes and everything that needs a relative plane to be communicated in such a way. We're also told that this here is a real video of the LEM taking off towards the Earth. It had to head up there, and then it rendezvoused with the orbiting moon, whatever that thing's called. I can't think of the name right now. Sorry, brain dead. But the LEM had to actually connect with it, and the module that, let's say it's Apollo 11 that Collins was in, and then connect with it, and then continue orbiting and come back to Earth. And if you believe that, well, I don't know how. They also tell us flat out lies. Here's a article that I found from September 17th, 2012. It says International Space Station cameras will bring Earth to you live 24/7. And anyone who believes that has never looked, because there is no such 24/7 camera. It has never been provided, not once. You may think it has, but it has not. And at the time of this image, I said, if you don't agree, let's bet. We will go to the live view. I bet the live view lasts less than an hour. You get anything in over an hour, any takers. So what else is NASA involved in that we should question? Well, one of the things that's kind of scary is the seat back mileage presenters. They also show you where you're at, what direction you're heading. Most of those are provided by NASA. And you'll see here, NASA Aeronautics with you when you fly. So a lot of people think that there's very different separate companies out there. And Jeran, how could you say that Southern flights are actually going over a greater distance? Don't you know that the seat back television is provided by somebody else? Well, here you go. They're provided by NASA. So they also spend our money willy-nilly. This is an image of two astronauts who were up at the ISS or down in the ISS, depending on how you look at it. These two are hilarious, but they're both wearing custom-made NFL jerseys, and we did some research on this and found out that the last supply mission to the ISS came well before any team had been cemented in the playoffs, which means that NASA would have had to send every jersey for the NFL. Let's say that there's 5 teams that everyone knows are not going to make it to the playoffs. Let's just say, for an example, the 49ers, for example. Once you know that, yeah, you cannot send those. So, okay, let's say that they could send 5 less. And that may not seem like a lot of money. You know, a custom-made jersey, those look like they're the pretty heavy quality. So I would say, you know, $100, $75 at least minimum. But that's not the problem. The problem is that according to NASA, it costs us anywhere from $2,000, and I've seen as high as like $50,000 a pound to send things to space. So when you think of that and you realize if you've ever put on a jersey, they weigh at least a pound. You put that on and you send those up, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars at our expense. Remember, this is our tax money being spent. And so big problem with that. That's why I question that. You also look at sets provided. For instance, this is a set built for Kubrick's movie, 2001: A Space Odyssey. A lot of hoists, a lot of cables, and these things are not impossible to do. And when you've got the kind of money that NASA has, $52 million a year. Sorry, I always say that too. It just rolls off the tongue better. It's $52 million a day. You certainly have enough to construct things that would fool any regular person into believing that they are true. So we also know that NASA puts up satellites, right? So we've got like this little doohickey here. Of course, we never see any real images. This is clearly a computer-generated graphic, not actual reality. And why would they be putting these things up into orbit when we know that they also put up things like this, which is clearly some sort of camera situation hoisted up by a balloon? NASA has admitted that they send up 50 balloons a day. On top of that, they've admitted that they can lift up to 8,000 pounds and leave them up there for long periods of time. So anybody who thinks that automatically that we just have satellites up there, well, most of our satellites look like this. They are giant contraptions being held up by balloons. So if you think your DirecTV dish on your roof is pointed at a satellite, couldn't it also be pointed at this? Now, I'm not saying that it is. I'm asking you, couldn't it be? And anyone who says, no, that's impossible, well, they've lost their mind. Because it is very possible. And when you look at the prices involved in putting something onto a rocket and shooting it up into orbit and maintaining its exact place versus the price of attaching something to a helium-filled balloon and lifting it up there and then using an automatic set of controls to keep it in a general direction or a general area, which one makes more sense to you? We can also just look in the past at things that they've said. For instance, this is Echo. Okay, this is a 1,000-foot spherical balloon. And how far do you think this went into the sky? What would you guess? 100,000, 200,000 feet, 300,000 feet? How about 1,000 miles? You heard me right. That's what NASA says. That this balloon went into space 1,000 miles. It's 4 times as far as the ISS. And again, if you believe that, you've lost your mind. This is going back even older. This is another satellite contraption that was lifted up by a balloon. and stuck into the sky. And again, it gets so high, just like a 747, that is really hard to see from the ground, especially if it's at 35,000 feet. Well, you can imagine anything lifted like this to 100,000 or 125,000 feet certainly would not be seen from the ground, so they could get away with it. Now, you might ask, okay, well, what else is NASA doing? Well, how about this image here? Somebody's sitting at a computer, and if you look carefully, it might be hard for you to see, but there's definitely something going on here. This person is doing some sort of editing. You'll see here we've got camera 7, we've got a camera over here, we've got something going on here, looks like some sort of rocket back that we usually see in the SpaceX launches. And it is so easy to do video editing. Currently right now I'm using OBS, which is a free editing software, and I'm able to bring in images and make things manifest out of nowhere, and I'm doing it for free. So if you had money and you could do live editing, believe me, to just simply believe what we're told as far as spacewalks without any kind of confirmation is ridiculous, and we're going to pay for it in the end. So there's also other little editing things like this. Now imagine that they tell us that in this pool at NASA or at the Neutral Buoyancy Lab that they are practicing or doing a training for spacewalks. But we've got these people sitting at these editing computers. So what would be the point of editing all these videos? What would be the point of getting the video exactly correct? Why would that be important to the training of astronauts? It should be the last thing on their mind is what the camera angles are and what they look like. They should be just training the astronauts because they're going to be in space and they're going to have their lives on the line. That's another thing. Never in the pool are they without scuba divers. They're always with scuba divers in the pool. Well, if it was training, at what point do you take the training wheels off when your life's on the line? It would be like giving your child training wheels on their bike every day for a year, and then you take the training wheels off and you point them down a hill where they have to ride with no training wheels, and on the right and left side of them, if they fall or tip over, is a pool of lava. Who knows? But you would never do that. You're going to have them train without the training wheels first to make sure that they can go without the training wheels. You don't just remove them, which would be the equivalent of what they do in space. They remove the training wheels, being the scuba divers, and then just throw them out into space and say good luck. Even though constantly these scuba divers have to move cables, move cords, move this, their foot gets caught, you lift it off. So of course, if you've ever heard any of my videos, you know that my belief is that they are actually with them in space. And then you might ask, well, how can they be with them in space? Well, they're not in space. So let's look at this image here. Whether or not you can see it, this is what bases my entire belief upon the scuba diving fakes, the scuba diving frauds, the in a pool. If you can see right here, and I'm pretty sure you see my mouse, this image right here is the big culprit. Okay, what this image is, and it's also on this screen over here, this image here is showing you a PNG. Okay, what that is like a transparent image, and we'll see this little backpack or something is a transparency. Now this makes absolutely no sense in anybody's belief or understanding if you believe the real thing that they're actually in space. What this tells me is that this is how they edit out different aspects of either the scuba diver. This looks like it could be the double tanked scuba gear set. Could also be the thing that they use called the portable foot restraint. There's a lot of things they use in space that they carry along with them that could easily be edited out live, especially if it's not live. And I've got examples of that. Clearly they're not live as in live, but nothing is, right? I mean, even this broadcast here is about 10 seconds delayed. So nothing is live. So imagine that I'm doing something in a pool and I'm able to edit it live so that what you see is what you think is live, and what actually is happening is I'm taking care of the anomalies, say in 35 seconds or in 30 seconds before it goes live. So there's no reason why we should just assume that because NASA says spacewalks are live, that they're actually live as in right now. They could even be the day before. They could be 10 minutes before. They could be 20 seconds. Any of those would present opportunities for them to edit the final copy before it goes out to the public. The other problem that I have with NASA, and a big problem with them, is their connection with Freemasonry. And that is a huge issue because Freemasons love to remain secret. They love to keep their stuff away from the general public. If you don't know, one of the mottos of Freemasonry is that they're on the level. Yeah, I repeat that again. They are on the level. Isn't that interesting? If you didn't know about our founding fathers, George Washington, of course, known to most as the first president of the United States, known to the few as the actual ninth president of the United States, look that up, was also a Freemason. He's got statues all over dedicated to him. They love the idea of George Washington and Freemasonry. Here's another drawing just showing you the checkerboard floor, kind of the idea of the sacrificed astronaut. And this is another one of these Masonic images. You also get very many, NASA Freemason here, just a little emblem. It's got your square and compass on the right and left. You've also got this letter, which was to the illustrious Luther A. Smith, 33rd degree Sovereign Grand Commander of the Supreme Council in the Southern Jurisdiction of the USA, Washington, D.C. This letter is from Edwin E. Aldrin, otherwise known as Buzz Aldrin, where it says, "It was a great moment in my life to be so cordially welcomed to the House of the Temple, September 16, 1969, by you and Grand Secretary General Kleinik, and also the members of your staffs. My greatest pleasure, however, was to be able to present with you on this occasion the Scottish Rite flag, which I carried on the Apollo 11 flight to the moon, emblazoned in color with the Scottish Rite double-headed eagle, the Blue Lodge emblem, and the Sovereign Grand Commander's insignia. I take this opportunity to again thank you for the autographed copy of your recent book." So this is just more evidence that these guys are all involved in Freemasonry, and if you needed more evidence of that, take a look at this stamp that was dedicated to the moon landing. And of course, what are the chances that the value on that stamp is 33 cents? Of course, right? What would be anything else? And some people are like, "Oh, that's a coincidence." Well, sure it is. 33 cents on the moon landing stamp is not a coincidence. It is actually there entirely by design. How about this image of Edwin Byrd? A lot of people think that Admiral Byrd was a, truth seeker or somebody that we should respect and to honor, when clearly, if you know anything about Freemasonic handshakes, take a look, and this is Admiral Byrd and Roosevelt, clearly with the handshake going on there. And let's move on from there. This is also something interesting for those of you interested in the flat earth. Go ahead and look at this. Something really interesting that talks about the 23.5 degree summer solstice versus the winter solstice. Something I measured recently because I was like, that cannot be true. But when I point my compass and I look directly east from where I live, knowing that on the equinox the sun rises directly east, if I point directly east, well, if I then look at the northernmost point of the sun rising, and then I look at the southernmost point of the sun rising, guess what? It is exactly the same as the square and compass. That is true for everyone. Everyone has the exact same coordinates. So if you look at the pole star being on the left image here, and the summer solstice and winter solstice, or otherwise known like Cancer and Capricorn, and then you turn it upside down and you get the ecliptic plane and the pole of the ecliptic, and you look at the sky, and we get the 23.5 on the precessional cycle as well. Very interesting. But yet, the world that we see is, something like this. And we're told one thing that we're told. I saw a comment earlier today. Somebody said, don't trust your eyes because your eyes are usually wrong. And we should be trusting instead real studies like mathematics. Forgetting, of course, that mathematics is invented. It is not a divine construct. And for anybody questioning that, what you need to ask yourself, first of all, is if everyone had their minds wiped right now and we had to start all over. Let's say we all forgot everything we ever knew and we get to start over, that the chances that we might come up with a base 10 system are probably fairly good, considering we have 10 digits on our hands. But we could come up with a base 20 or base 60 or anything. There's nothing, and I mean nothing, that tells you that 11 has to be a double digit. That's how you can know that math is a human invention. There's nothing that will ever tell you in any way that 11 is a double digit. Okay, that's a human invention. If we were to be sitting around with 15 oranges, we could make the double digit 4. You could make it, for instance, like tally marks, right? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you cross that next one to make it 5. That could be your double digit. 10 could be a double digit. 12 could be a double digit. Doesn't matter. It's an invention of humans not anything divine, not anything that was put here for us. That's a complete and total invention. So to just trust mathematics is a scary step. Is there some math that can prove reality? Absolutely. That once you realize that money or dollars or adding and subtracting, once you realize those things are true and do match reality, then you can use those to make reality easier to come up with the answer. For instance, once we've done enough addition and subtraction and we know that it's always right, it doesn't matter if we extend that out and we start adding millions and billions and trillions, we can come to the conclusion that the answers are correct. However, to just then say that we can use math to dictate what is reality, that's a non sequitur. You cannot go there. And if you do, you're opening yourselves up for probably being deceived. This next image is just more reasons I question NASA. You can see this little egg-shaped Earth or whatever's going on here. Don't know. Have no idea. Go watch the ISS Live, which we might do in a little bit if we've got time. And we'll see that this is something that should not be trusted. This picture here of the coast of Florida cannot in any way be true. Finish off this drawing. Realize how far across the diameter of this image would be. Figure out the size of Florida, and you will quickly realize that there's something wrong with this image. Most likely the curvature, which is not present, but in here clearly shows that there is a huge curved horizon. More questions for NASA. How about this one? These are just some of the patches that have been used, and you can see that there's always this wizard. This one here, you'll see that this thing's flying around. We've got this wizard who's in charge. He's got stars up here. This one here, Joint Space Operations Center, another wizard in charge. He's holding one ball, kind of shooting a lightning bolt at this one. We've got this one, the National Reconnaissance Operations Center. Same thing, we've got some sort of godlike wizard, lightning bolts to the Earth. This one here, we've got the 411th Flight Test Squadron assessing the future. Again, we've got some sort of wizard here. This one here is called Pan. If you don't know about that, you can look that up. That is actually the goat god. This one here is a patch that says don't ask, NOYFB, which stands for none of your fucking business. We've got this, which is of course seen on the back of the dollar bill, which is the pyramid with the missing capstone, with the eye of the pyramid up here. We've got another one over here with this dragon holding the earth. We've got this octopus with his arms and tentacles wrapping around the earth. We've got this one, which looks like some sort of phoenix or, I don't know, some sort of bird that's emblazoned with fire. Another one here. These are all NASA patches, and that's part of the reason we should have a problem with them. Okay, what's going on here? Thank you. And let's see what else we've got. We've also got this image, which is just showing you the questions people have with the with the moon. So if we look at the left image, we can look at the hot spot and clearly see that the light source is coming from where B is coming from. And we can see the shadows on D, A, and C, which are a little bit lighter than the bright spot. And we don't get that at all with the moon. On the right side here, we've got clearly the light source coming from B. We see shadows starting at D, C, and A, all darker than the bright spot B, because of course we know that that is what a sphere would do. So let's look at the moon, and you'll see here, where's the hot spot? And there is no shadows at the top or at the bottom. And that should make you question again what exactly we're being told everything is. And let's move on from there. You should know when we get to the moon and to those in charge that Operation Paperclip was hugely responsible for setting up NASA, or with the WHO was involved, one of those being Werner von Braun, and the nearly 1,000 German scientists that came over from the Nazi Party to join the ranks of the USA. They were given free passes. They weren't charged with war crimes. And they were infiltrated into every industry in the United States. But when we see images like this, we should have a question. This is certainly looks exactly like the moon landing images and videos, although you can see that there's a contraption holding this lander up. It is not the same lander. Nobody's saying this is the same images and videos of the moon landing. That would be ridiculous if they ever let those out, which is why they wouldn't. But they would let some images of their training out. But when we see this, we should understand how easy it would be to fake us out with the moon landing. When we see images like this, There's absolutely no reason for this at all. You've got a curved video surface on the left, you've got a curved ball on the right, and then there's a track sitting right in front of it. You run a little camera in any movie making industry. Along that track, you play the image of the moon on the left, and all of a sudden you've got an orbiting craft. Look for one coming next year when Elon Musk flies people to the moon. Here is your homeless tweaker shelter, your LEM. This thing's put together with cardboard and construction paper. Looks like some shower curtain rods and some little chalices. That's about it. If you think this thing went to the moon and brought people back, you're crazy. Here these guys are practicing out in the field. You'll see it's all labeled out exactly which crater is where. And this was done way out in the forest in the fields of New Mexico, I believe. Might have been Nevada. Here's another picture of the LEM. Equally as hilarious. Remember that there was people in there. And not only did they just go in there and sleep in there, but they also had to change into their astronaut suits inside this thing. And we've seen them change into their suits in the ISS. It's a 4-person job. A lot of room is needed, but all of a sudden 50 years ago they were just able to do it with just the 2 of them, no problems, easy. Who has questions? Here we see a moon landing set. I've never figured out exactly what exactly this is or where it's from or if it's from a movie, but this one actually looks a little bit more like the moon lander, the LEM. You'll see a big helium balloon, so imagine that you strap a helium balloon to your back, and as you walked around, you would kind of be able to hop, right? You would hop, you would jump, and look exactly like they did during the moon landing films, and that would just take tying a helium balloon to lift you, just give you a little extra lift, and you'd be able to figure that out to get you the 1/6 gravity that they say the moon has. Also got images like this, which show an artist, and this is the exact same curved surface that we just saw in the other image. If you go back and look at this, you can see that this would easily be exactly the same thing as this, and you would just need to have somebody who painted the moon, which it looks like he's doing there on top of this little rolling stairway, and then project it onto that screen. Super easy, and we're talking about having as much money as they had, plus Hollywood's help. This is not something that should even be hard for people to think about the possibility of it happening. Also, if you didn't know, you should know that there is only one president who was ever in office during the moon landings, and that would be Triggy Dick, Richard Nixon. And if you think he's an honest and upstanding guy, well, you're probably wrong. And you need to look into that. There's no other president, not before him, not after him, that had men land on the moon. Every single time between 1969 and 1972, it was Richard Nixon. And if you look behind him, you might be surprised that there is a flat Earth map on the wall. Isn't that crazy? Again, here's our tweaker shelter one more time, and you can just see this thing's put together with tape. They've got gold foil, which they say protects it from getting hot. It's all a bunch of nonsense, but something you would expect to fool the world 50 years ago. If it's still fooling you, well, I don't know what to tell you. You shouldn't be fooled by that at all. We can talk about Albert Einstein and the things that he told that people believe, and I've talked about it many times, but you need to ask yourself the question when it comes to just relativity, which here's your little equation for that if you want to see that. But relativity teaches that there is no absolute motion, so that means that the Earth can't be said to spin or to go around the sun or to do anything, because everything is relative. Yet they teach us in school that the Earth orbits the sun. And if the Earth orbits the sun, then that is absolute motion, and therefore cannot be said in a relativity or relativistic environment, in which case there is no relativity. So which one is it? Science, is there relativity? If there is, then can you please stop teaching children that they should believe that we go around the sun? Because if relativity is true, no absolute motion means that when you're on the Earth, it looks like the sun goes around it. When you're on the sun, it looks like the Earth goes around it. Another thing I've brought up many times is this is an image taken from inside the cupola on the International Space Station. My question remains still, why have we never seen anybody in this little cupola at night? Okay, and Now, what's going to happen here soon, because I'm just telling you how it works, that pretty soon you're going to get a video or you're going to get a image of them in there at night. And at that point, everyone's going to come and say, well, now there's one. So now do you believe it? And the answer will be absolutely not. That this thing has been up there for 5 or 6 years that they installed this cupola. There's no reason to think that in 5 years they wouldn't have already done it. So go ahead and do it now, NASA, and I'll laugh in your face and you've given me more ammo. Another thing that a lot of people have questions about is the eclipses, right? We've all heard somebody say, well, how do the eclipses work in the flat Earth model? Well, take a look at this image. This is a shuttle launch. And I want you to pay attention to the shadow that's in the back there. That shadows now, remember, the sun would be behind us. That over there is the moon. So what reason is there that from behind us the sun is shining, we're getting a shadow, but the shadow goes down? Why does the shadow go down? Because as I've said many times, the sky slants down. No, not in reality. That sky, from where we're looking here, is above us, but into the distance with perspective, things angle down and go to a vanishing point, and this should tell us something. So all of a sudden now we need to rethink the entire idea of a shadow on the moon, because if there's a shadow in the sky here that is on the moon, that shadow is angling right towards the moon, that's going to help explain some of these eclipses on the flat Earth, which right now we believe that the shadow is up in the sky and we're looking up at the shadow on the moon, but we need to realize that there's even red shadows that come about. For instance, here, this mountain is being lit up bright red. So what is causing the red shadow here? Is it the Earth that's causing the shadow? Is it the atmosphere? Well, these are the things that we'll start seeing that happen. Here's another shadow completely covering the moon from behind. So these are going to be the answers for what's going on during eclipses. Almost done here with these. I just wanted to show you the ISS. When you take an image, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. When you take an image of a map that is a flat map or a square map, and you Cartesian to polar it, you'll get this circular, which is kind of like a flat Earth map, but you'll also notice that the path of the ISS gets put into circles. So is the ISS just doing circles above the flat Earth? Well, if you ask me, that answer is easy. Now, somebody might say, well, where's the ice wall? You know, you might have heard Joe Rogan say it numerous times that, yeah, these guys talk about the ice wall. Yeah, show me a picture of the ice wall. Well, what we're talking about is the ice wall like this. Okay, we're not talking about an ice wall like you can't get over it. It's so big that that's what's holding us in. No, we're talking about an ice wall that holds water in. And this is the question, you know, why were we not shown these things in class in school? It's because people would have questioned these things and been like, wait a second, does that explain why water is held in? Because when you think about the globe, if you believe that the globe is just out there in the middle of space and all the water is held onto it because of some force called gravity, which is the weakest of the four forces, yet can hold up trillions of pounds of ocean water, hold up tankers and boats and cars upside down, then you probably are on one. Here's another picture of the ice wall. These are not CGI. These are actual images of what you might call the ice wall. Somebody might look here and say, oh, there's a curve. We see the curve of the Earth. No, this is called the view of our eyes. We see in a circle. So we are the radius of the circle. Any way direction we look, we can only see the same distance, which is a circle. People might say, well, how does the sun work on the flat Earth? Let me explain something, because we get people like everyone. I mean, really, there's everyone you've ever heard that has had a comment about the flat Earth says, well, if the sun is 3,000 miles up and it's so far away from us, why can't I just pull out a telescope? Why can't I just pull out a telescope and look at it? Well, you need to explain to them an image like this, which is in a tunnel. Now, picture that there is a light. It's on the top of this tunnel, on the very ceiling there, and that the light is on a track and it can go running away from you as far as the eye can see. Now, picture this tunnel is 10 times as long. Just say this tunnel is huge. Okay, we don't know where this tunnel ends, but let's just say it's 10 times as long, it's 10 miles long, whatever. And then this light goes racing by our heads down away from us on the ceiling of the tunnel. At a certain point, when the ceiling of that tunnel meets the ground, when the light goes past that, do you think you can pull out a telescope and look at that light? Or do you think that there's a limit to this distance we can see? That even if you pull out a telescope, well, the ceiling has already hit the floor. So anything past that, anything beyond our ability to see, cannot be brought back with a telescope, cannot be brought back with a bazooka telescope. No. And people might say, well, what about boats? Boats that go over the edge, how come we can bring them back? Well, there's two differences. Number one, on the ground, we lose sight at, say, 3, 4, 5, 6 miles. And so you can pull out a telescope and bring that back. But when you're talking about the sky, that is much, much, much further, that we cannot just pull out a telescope because that is the end of our sight. People might also ask the question when you're looking at this image here, which is what got me on the idea of the flat Earth. When I first saw this, I finally realized, oh, planes can fly around it like this. Okay, I get it. And like, for instance, I have gone to the Philippines from San Francisco, so I flew this way to the Philippines. And my wife has flown from San Francisco, and she's been to Hungary, and she went this way. And so all of a sudden I said, okay, I can see how we fly around the world. But wait a second, how do you do a north-south circumnavigation? That's impossible. How would you do a north-south circumnavigation here? You would have to get to somewhere in Antarctica and come right back. Well, of course, there's evidence of that. I've told the story before that the guy who has the world record, who broke it in 2015 for flying in a circumnavigation, I'll show you exactly what he did as I was watching live, because he was tracked via spider tracks, which I still think they have that site. Basically, it's like this little device that you can attach to your children's car or your wife or whatever, and then you can track exactly where they are. Well, this man put the spider track onto his airplane, and let me show you what he did here. So he started out in North Carolina and flew down here somewhere, and then flew to Brazil. And from Brazil, the plan was to go to the North Pole and basically come out over here and go to Australia and then New Zealand. So as I was watching live, he came out from Brazil, flew south, hit the South Pole, and went back to Brazil. And I said, what? Oh, I guess, and he said there was bad weather, and I said, well, he's going to have to do it again. Then he flew from Brazil to New Zealand to Australia, Australia to Alaska, Alaska to the North Pole, and then back to North Carolina, and they gave him the record. So when I see something like that, I don't need to question anymore whether or not the Earth is flat, whether or not it's a ball. It is clearly not a ball. It is clearly the case where people are given certain leniency because of it. Things are allowed that otherwise shouldn't. If the Earth was a ball, then that record would not stand. That any committee would say you absolutely did not circumnavigate north-south. You flew from the North Pole to the South Pole, then came right back to where you came, went sideways, came back. Has nothing to do with circumnavigation. As soon as they give that person the record, I knew exactly what's going on. And so that's one case. The other case is if you look up, how many people have circumnavigated east-west. Well, billions. Billions of people have circumnavigated east-west. Many of you have probably circumnavigated east-west. There is a ton of people. How many people have circumnavigated north-south? Well, look it up. You'll be lucky if you find 2 or 3. For one, you'll find the record holder, and that is Sir Ranulph Fiennes. But here's the problem with that. He went on the Transglobe expedition, which was, I believe it lasted 4 or 5 years, from 1979 to 1983 or something like that. But in just looking up, doing research on his journey, you'll notice up in the upper left is his website, Transglobe Expedition. You can go there right now and find it. On the right, you'll see the Guinness Book of World Records, and down below, you'll see his book, To the Ends of the Earth, the Transglobe Expedition. Here's the problem. In the upper left on his website, it says the 100,000-mile journey of the Transglobe Expedition. On the right, you'll see the Guinness Book of World Records. It says a 35,000-mile journey. On his book, it says he went on an expedition. He set off in 79 on a grueling 52,000-mile adventure. So the whole thing, erased. Bullshit. Nonsense. And this guy is a cousin of the Queen, a Freemason. He's royalty. He's the 3rd Baron of the something stupid. I don't know what it is. So basically, we've got a group of people that are fooling us. This is the image from the charter that was being signed by the Council of Foreign Relations, or it's a UN charter group. And you'll see behind them the flat Earth map clearly right here. And they've been fooling us for a long time. This is a image of a $1/3 from 1776. You might notice, if you can see, hopefully it's big enough. Right here we've got what looks to be some sort of dome. Looks like we've got a sun or moon here shining down on a flat plane with "Mind Your Business" below it. So, pretty interesting. The other thing I think they've been fooling us on, and people need to do research on this, if you believe that this is the way that King Tut's tomb was sealed, then you're out of your mind. Okay, this is a complete and total fraud. Pretty sure, and I haven't gotten to the to a point where I can tell you a lot of details about it, but the entire idea of the pyramids, you got a lot of people that love them. You got a lot of people that adore them, that think that they're the greatest thing of all time, that they were built thousands and thousands of years ago. Let me tell you about something I just researched recently. If you've heard the conversation between Orphan Red and myself about what Pole Star was before, so I went looking. I wanted to find out exactly what angle these shafts of the Great Pyramid of Cheops, what angle are those shafts? And as I looked, first question would be, and I'll ask this to the chat. I just want to see if anybody can give a correct answer here. The shafts that are in the Great Pyramid of Cheops, how big are they? They are square. So would you say that those shafts are 10 feet by 10 feet? Are they 5 feet by 5 feet? Are they 5 inches by 5 inches? Let me hear some people tell me, what do you think the size of the shafts in the Great Pyramid of Cheops are? Go ahead and just guess away and tell me what you think, because we've all heard of them. We know that they are square shaped. We've seen drawings of them, right? The drawings of the shafts, the northern shafts that go to the king's chamber, the ones that go to the queen's chamber. Somebody put 33 or 66, just a foot or so, 2 feet by 2 feet. Pretty funny. They are, somebody actually came close there. They are 8 inches. Okay, yeah, less than a foot. So they're 8 inches by 8 inches. The shafts are tiny. No person can get through them. And when I looked up the angle, I found some group that was an independent group that measured them 5 times. And they came out with the angle of 31.20 degrees. Okay, so the first question I said to myself, and this is just kind of the way things work sometimes when you're on research, I said, if the location of that pyramid is 31.20 degrees, I'm going to flip out. Because what that means is that the shafts are aimed exactly at Polaris. And I said, there's no way, right? There's no way. Look it up. 31.14 degrees is where the Great Pyramid of Cheops is. And so that means they're right now, as we speak, pointed at Polaris. Yet we're told that the pyramids were built in 2450 BC when the shafts were aimed at the star Thuban. If you want to believe stories like that, go right ahead. It means for the 3,000 years between then and a couple hundred years ago that they were pointed at nothing. And it just so happens we live in the time where they're pointed at the current North Star. But when it was built, it was pointed at a different North Star. Sure it was. Believe the words of men and you'll end up being deceived. Just a final image here of the sun and the fact that it is so much closer than 93 million miles. Mind you, you're told that those rays of sun rays right there are coming in parallel. Okay, that's what you believe. That's what you accept. That's what you understand if you believe in the heliocentric model. So I think I've shown you several reasons why we should question the model as we are given. And I'm going to show you something else here. We're going to go and look at something 1 second, and I'll get this up here. So we're going to turn this off, and we are going to go to the browser. If I can do that, which I think I can. 1 second. Okay. So now we're looking at something here, and I'll come back to this, but something really interesting that I found recently, and I think everyone needs to see it. This is the site N2Yo, or N2YO, I don't know what they call it or whatever, but this site lists the passes for the ISS. This is where I always go to figure out whether or not the ISS will be going over my head. 1 second, I forgot to transfer. There we go. So I wanted to see exactly what was going on here. So I'm looking at these, and let me show you something really interesting. Now think about this, and then I'm going to draw it out so you can see it, but think about it first. When the ISS is seen from the ground, it's because it's being lit up by the sun. Okay, so I've always understood that as to mean, okay, well, if I see the ISS, it has to be, what, an hour before sunrise to maybe an hour after, and an hour before sunset to an hour after. That would be the only time that it's going to be lit up by the sun. I want you to look. This is my location, and I want you to see exactly what times these say. Okay, these are the upcoming passes of the ISS above my head. 12:05 a.m., 11:13 a.m., 12:50 a.m. These are not just passes. These are visible passes. Okay, so you'll see here that yellow means marginal view, bright yellow is good, orange is excellent. So these light yellow means that I am having a marginal view. I'm able to see the ISS and look at these times 12:57 a.m. or 12:47 a.m. So this is a really weird instance. I was like, wait, how can I see it? That's 4 hours after sunset. How can I see the ISS? Well, I'm going to show you exactly why here shortly. Let me get this up. And let's see this one here. Let me show you something kind of crazy. Let's see here. We're going to enable this and change this over. Okay. So now what we're looking at is turning this on and turning which one? This one off and transferring. Okay. So we're looking at this image here. And what you're going to see is something interesting. This is, I drew a circle, a ball. Okay. And what I was able to do is we know, and let's say that the sun is over here. Okay. There's the sun, far away, far away, far away, shining light this way, which means if you kind of follow this white line down through the middle, that this half of the earth would be bright and this half of the earth would be dark. I also wrote down, this is from the other day, I wrote down the 2 times. This is when the sunset was 8:20 and then the sun rose the next day at 5:49 a.m. So by this just drawing, we know that the sun sets here at 8:20, and we know that once we spun around to the other side, same thing with it halved, that it would rise at 5:49 on the other side. So by figuring that out, we know that we've got 10 hours and 30 minutes of night, okay, which is the difference between 8:20 at night and 5:49 in the morning. So based on this 10 hours and 30 minutes, then we know that we can take the half of the point of that, which would be 5 hours and 15. Maybe I should do it a little darker color so you can see what I'm doing. That'd be 5 hours and 15 minutes. And we can add it to this 8:20, which gets 1:35. And we can know that no matter where you were on the globe at this halfway point when the sun set, you would be somewhere along this line at 5 hours and 15 minutes after. So in just looking at where we would be, being in the United States, you know, I pictured that we would be about here. Could be here, could be here. Who knows? But I'd say that the United States is about here and rotated up kind of like this. Okay. So at 1:35 in the morning, we would be exactly at the furthest point from the sun and then come back around to be sunrise right at 5:49. So I was able to half this line, take this, cut it in half, equals 11 o'clock. And so you're talking 12 o'clock or 12:30, 12:45. We're looking in here. Okay. And if you think that right here, that we would be able to see the ISS when it's only 250 miles above the Earth, you know, this, so you know, this is 250 miles above the Earth. Okay, this is the equivalent, this yellow dot is 250 miles off this Earth, if this Earth is 8,000 miles. The way you figure that out, again, I drew a circle. Now we already know that it's 8,000 miles, so we can take this line across, and we can know that from here to here is 4,000. We just cut it in half again, and we know from here to here is, nope, wait, maybe I did it. Oh yeah, this is 1,000 each one. So these are 1,000. Yeah. So this is here to here would be 2,000, which means each one of these segments is 1,000. Then I cut that in half again to get 500. And then I cut that in half again to get 250. And then I just took this distance to the edge is equals the ISS. So if you think that you'd be able to, remember, this is a ball, a giant ball. And this far away from the center, that something 250 miles up, you know, the equivalent of being here, could be seen over the entire ball is ridiculous. Absolutely a joke. But I did want to show you real quick the way that you can do something on this. By the way, this is called Real World Paint. It's a free program, and I want to show you why I think you should get it. But one second, I'm going to disable this one and enable this one. Okay, and no, I forgot I crossed this. I was looking at something. But when you take a picture like this, right, I want to show you something you can do with Real World Paint that's pretty awesome. Cut it out like a square, like this, or like, I mean, a rectangle. Okay, once you have this image, you can go up to Image and Adjust, and you can do something called Cartesian to Polar. Sorry, it's under Image, More Transformations, Cartesian to Polar. Okay, this is going to flip it into a flat Earth map or a circle, whatever you want to call it. And you can then take this and shrink it if you want to get it more in the circular matter, kind of like this. And let me copy this real quick so I can get that X out of the way. Copy. And let's see what this one is. Okay, so why is that X still there? One second, I'm going to disable this. There we go. Okay, so this is the new drawing that we have here. Now I'm going to explain to you exactly why this happens. Because, remember, the ISS is going in circles around the Earth like this, or whatever's up there. I'm not saying it's the craft, the ISS, but it could be a high-altitude plane, could be whatever. Could be a high-altitude satellite, could be a high-altitude balloon, whatever it is. It's not in orbit of a circle. Orbit of a sphere. It's in orbit above us, like flying around in circles. Now, here's something interesting. I am located here. Okay, why am I not drawing on here? Sorry, 1 second. I need to turn off these other layers. And do I delete this one? Delete layer. Okay, 1 second, and I'll show you. Delete layer. And now can I draw? Thank you. Okay, so I am right here. Okay, so I'm right here, the Monterey Bay. Okay, and remember, I'm seeing the ISS late at night, at 11 or 12 o'clock at night. So why would that be? Well, it's because the sun, as it's in its orbit like this, okay, well, the sun is still shining on this item 250 miles above me, even at 11 or 12 o'clock at night. Now, when the sun gets here, it's going to be dark, right? When the sun gets there, this dark line is going to be passing like this. So, of course, I can't see the ISS. But when the sun is at 11 o'clock, which is right here, you'll see, or actually it's a little bit further, about here, you'll see why I still see the ISS. So this is just one of those things. It's more proof for me of issues. It doesn't work on a ball, and it works on the flat Earth map. And but people want to still believe what they want to believe, and who am I to take that away from them? So anyway, I wanted to show you that, and also I wanted to show you one other thing. And let me bring this up real quick. Oops, no, we're going to draw it here. This is just, and people get mad at me when I talk math. They say, you don't know math, don't talk math. You shouldn't talk math. I get it all the time. Let me see, get this red pen here. Okay, let me go, we'll go new. Let me see if you still see this. Hopefully you do. If you don't, then I have to redo it. 1 second. I'm just making sure that my thing is showing up on the screen. 1 second. Maybe you won't see what I'm doing. Nope, you don't. 1 second. I'm going to have to do it on the other one. 1 second. And let's go new. Okay. Now you should see that little dot, hopefully. Sorry, I'm watching my delay here. Come on, see that dot. Okay, good. And so people don't want me to talk math, and I understand why, but I just want to show you something again because I think it's something that needs to be questioned. This circle, okay, and I keep bringing this up because I think it's hugely important that, let me see, is this, oh, that's what's going on. Let's disable this one. Oops. Let me get this one in here. Okay. Nope, that ain't gonna work, is it? Okay, let's go with this one. So this circle here, when you look at this distance, better pen, this distance here to here, and this is something that's pretty much accepted by everyone. I think nobody really questions that if we know that this distance here is 8,000 miles or 7959 or whatever, then we know that this distance here is the radius, or 3915 or whatever it is. We're just going estimates are coming close here. So we know that if somebody travels from here to here, that they've gone 6,250 miles in their journey, right? Which is basically 1/2 of the distance from the North Pole to South Pole, or 1/4 all the way around. And we know that they have dropped, which I don't think anybody would question. They have dropped, so if we're talking the curvature, they've dropped the same distance that the radius is. They moved from here to here, and they dropped that same distance. So we know that that number is, let's say 4,000, just to be easy, that when you go this far distance, you've dropped 4,000 miles, okay? So here comes the interesting part, and I still bring this up all the time because I think it needs to be explained, that if we zoom in here and we said, okay, let's take 1,000 people, and we're just going to erase this part here. I'm sorry, not 1,000 people. We take 24,901 people, and we line them up on the Earth this way. Okay, so we take them and we put them each a mile apart. So this guy's there, then a mile away from him is his friend, and a mile away from him is his friend. Okay, and we are going to line them up all the way around the globe. We're not going to do that, of course, but let's just say we did that. Okay, so we've got 24,901 people lined up until they end up right back here at the start. Okay, this would be your starting and your ending point. If that was the case, and we said, what is the curvature measurement that each person would measure? Okay, now we're not paying attention to the whole idea of 8 inches per mile squared because we understand what that is. Meaning this person's measurement to here would be 8 inches, but then his measurement to here would be 8 times 2 times 2, which would be 32 inches. And we know that this guy's measurement for 3 would be 8 times 3 times 3 is 9 times 3 is times 8 is 72. Okay, so we understand that measurement because we're measuring from this man to each one of the people all the way down, all the way around. Okay, so we understand that. I'm not talking about that measurement. What I'm talking about is the measurement between each person. Okay, so each person is measuring just between them two, then these two are going to measure between them, then these two are going to measure between them, and so on and so forth all the way around. Okay, so what would they each measure? The answer to that is 8 inches. Okay, because the curvature between the first mile, which this person's measuring 1 mile, this person's measuring 1 mile, this person's measuring 1 mile, and so on and so forth down the globe. So you get 8 inches each person. Okay, so then you can take that 8 inches and multiply that by 24,901 just to figure out, well, they're each measuring that first mile, so how many total inches of curvature would they have between them? And then you divide that by 12, and you divide that by 5280 to get your feet or miles or whatever. Oops, divide that by 5280, and you get 3.144. Okay, miles. Now many people say, oh, it's not, you can't do it that way, you can't do it that way. Well, then I think there's something wrong. How can you have 3.144 miles of that's total? This is total curvature if we just measured from each person to 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 each person. Each person is just measuring that 1 mile, coming up with 8 inches. Then there's a total of 3.14 miles of curvature on the entire Earth. And you would come all the way back to where you started with 3.144 miles. That is, what do you want to call it? Crazy, that's what I'd call it. Thanks, babe. Missa just brought us all water. How nice of her. So, that is, yeah, crazy. That's what I'll call it. Okay, so we got one more thing and then we're done for the evening. And this is something, I would say get out your, going to turn the browser back on, turn the Real World Paint off, and transition there back over. Okay, so get out a piece of paper. You're going to need to write this down, and this is kind of the thing that I find sometimes that this will probably be gone within a day. My guess is, since I'm admitting it or telling everybody. I will also say that it is not illegal. Okay, it is not illegal what I've done. By looking around, sometimes you can find little back doors into sites. Doesn't mean that it's illegal because it's not password protected. It's simply a web address. And the web address I'm looking at now is ftp.nnvl.noaa.gov/pub. Okay? So it's an NOAA site. It's not illegal, but they will probably close the backdoor access really soon because if you get into this, and I'll just show you some images that I found recently. Let me make sure you can see my screen. Everything's good. Okay. So this is like somebody's backroom access. I'm in an FTP access. Didn't have to put in any password. Didn't break any code. Didn't do anything illegal. But I want to show you some things that are found in here. Let me go back one more. And we can just keep going parent directory, and we can get to, for instance, this is a picture of images. You can go in here and see. Now, a lot of this stuff is blocked. You'll see I get to pages where there's nothing. I can't get in here. I can go back to the parent directory. I can look around. You can look around and go back to parent directory. And again, I was just looking at this earlier, so some stuff is not, I know for a fact doesn't work, but some stuff does. So let me go into GOES and show you what I found. Okay, so for instance, right now we're at a place where in the GOES I see Himawari, I see GER, I see full disk. Let's go to full disk. Some of these things take a little while. This is printable and goes west. Bring up the printable, and you'll see here I've got a ton of PNG images. Okay, see them all the way down up until yesterday. What are these images? Well, they're huge images of the Earth. They are of cloud data, and we can, whoops, is this thing going to load? Okay, thank you. You can actually zoom in here and see that these are clearly digital drawings. These are not real pictures. Clearly, these are drawings. You can see the edge here is a drawing. It has the, hopefully you can see that. It's got the pixels of a drawing. I don't think that anybody would think by any stretch of the imagination these are real images. Let's go in here to Florida and see that the lakes of the Great Lakes, these are pictographs. They are not images. Looking down here, they are on a PNG image. They're not with a black background or anything. Okay, so let's go back again. So what you get is you've got now an image of the Earth of every day of this year. We'll go to this one and bring this up. And again, we see another PNG image. And the only thing that really changes on these is the, let's get in here. Oh, come on, it's kind of slow. And we can go down here again. It's a PNG image. It's cut out. The circle's perfect. But these are not real images of the Earth. These are fake. Okay, so that doesn't mean anything, right? It doesn't tell us anything. What does that really mean? Well, if you keep going through these, you're going to find even more. Let me go to this goes west. Okay, now here, and again, I am not sure which ones I'm going to find that I found earlier, but if we click these, again, we just get, oh, now the map is a little bit more to the left. These are cloud patterns, but again, they're mapping them onto a ball on a PNG image. This is not like a photograph of Earth with space in the background or anything. These are just images that are used to show the cloud cover. And we're going to even show crazier here in a second. Okay, let's go here. Now we're going to be looking, we went there, let's go back to the parent directory. Okay, so here's the Himawaris, which this is, you know, Sean Hufford and those guys. They think that these things are proof, and also Joe Rogan. There's pictures of the Earth. There's pictures of the Earth, dude, from 22,000 miles away. How could you ever deny it? Pictures of the Earth. Well, let's look exactly what's going on in these so-called pictures of the Earth. This one here. Another thing is sometimes you have to wait. See, like that time I might have gone back and clicked out of here, but it just took a long time to come up because these are images of the Earth, and they're each, look how long, I don't know if you can you see my scroll bar? You can't. I'm scrolling right now down. Hopefully you can see. I'm just scrolling. These are all images of the Earth. There's thousands, hundreds of thousands. I wouldn't even know how to guess how many there are. But you'll notice that each of these have a certain time on them. So that's something I noticed right away. These are Himawari daily pictures, and they have a time. Here's 8 a.m., 5 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 9 a.m. And then you'll see here the date, February 1st, February 2nd, February 3rd, February 4th. But each date looks like it's got pictures every 10 minutes. Okay, so you can do the math on that. That'd be, what, 240 images a day. And this goes for months. I don't know how many months. All the way till yesterday, probably. Yeah. This is still being updated. So this is yesterday's map right here. Now, here's something interesting I found. If you go here, and I don't know whether these are universal time or they're obviously not my local time. But, you know, we'll start off here. Let's start at 1 a.m. Okay, we're going to be looking at June 2nd at 1 a.m. Okay, we get this interesting little image here. Who knows what this is? But there's certainly no land masses in here. We can kind of scroll through here and see that there's no land. These are like cloud, red, green, blue images. I don't see any land here. Okay, so we're going to back out of that. So we looked at June the 1st. I'm sorry, where are we at? June 2nd? I don't want to do that because I have to scroll down each time. Let me change our time. Let's go February 1st, and we're going to start at 1 a.m. Sorry. Okay, so February 1st, and that's not a good date either because it doesn't start there. February 2nd at 1 a.m. Okay, here we go. February 2nd at 1 a.m. February 2nd. I just start at 4 p.m. Well, I guess there's not every day. Oh, here's our 1 a.m. February 2nd. Okay, so we're starting at 1 a.m. What I wanted to show you is there's no such thing as night. Where's the image of the Earth when it's at night? And basically, you're going to see the same image every time. Yeah, the cloud patterns have changed. The swirls have changed. But there is no nighttime. So they're just... these are not images, because you can't just take an image Let's go here at 5:15 a.m. This is 6:35 a.m. Let's go to 12 or 11:55 p.m. Oop, that's 11:55 a.m. That wasn't right. But basically, you get the point. This is just the same image every time with just different little swirlies. So let's keep going back. Go back to parent directory. Again, if you want to download these pictures, I would get them before they steal them or close this little access, which again, ftp://ftp.nnvl.noaa.gov. Again, you're doing nothing illegal by looking on the internet and getting to access images that you did not put in a password, or it's not my fault they didn't close it down. These are Himawari dailies under simple contrast. So we're going to bring one of these up. Okay, that's with the other one. These are the ones with the, what do you call that, the Terminator. Okay, so we'll look at more of these. Go to the 2 2s. And come on up, hurry up. Okay, so these are the ones that do have the night, but again, if you drill into these real deep, you're going to see that they are not actual photos either. Okay, you can look through these, lots of pictures, and they're huge. They're really, really big. So I'm like peering in at these. Okay, and those are listed under the Himawari Daily Simple Contrast. And again, we can go back to the parent directory. Oh, don't do that. Go back forward one time. Ah, shoot. Hold on, I'm trying to get back to where I was. So then there's also little folders here for 2017 and 2016. So if we open up like a 2016, then you've got your months. So we can go to March. And then you've got a whole bunch of more images from March 2016. Bring up one of these. So then you get some interesting images like this. What is going on here? Certainly interesting. So, I mean, there's more images than I could ever go through here. And when I find something, I love to give it out. Because if anything was going to be found here, I'm not going to be able to search for months and weeks to try and find it. You know, these are the Himawaris, but you can see, if you think these are real, that's up to you. If you think these are real images, I can just see the pixel changes down here in the bottom. And looking at the pixel changes up here, these look like digital representations to me, as if they took that cloud data, and I'll show you more why I think that when we find more pictures. Let's go here, open up one of these. So I don't remember exactly the ones I was clicking on, but there's really, really strange ones where you'll get strange colors and just mess right here. I mean, you know, these clouds are exactly over this land. See this? These clouds here are exactly over the land. There's no clouds around here. This one's kind of going over it a little bit. Okay, but again, I just look at this and I laugh still. To this day now, I can never, I mean, this is water. Water on a ball that's staying on a ball. Pretty funny. Let's go back one further and see what else we can find in here. Again, I repeat, it is not illegal what I'm doing or what I'm showing. It is simply a FTP access to a site. Let's go, what's this here? Simple contrast outline. Oh yeah, maybe these ones are good to bring up. Okay, so if you can't see that, that is the outline of the land. Okay, this is what I'm talking about when I tell people that they're building these images. These are not images of the earth. These are simple outlines to outline the land, to show you what the land looks like. This is just an outline that they put down before they map. Let's go with the air mass outline. Here we go, another one. This is just outline. These are just digital images. They're not real. Okay, let's go back and look at some more. So there's so many more. I mean, I could go on for hours in this back room, because let's go back to the parent directory and get all the way back. Parent directory. Okay, so there's more. You can see ones I haven't even gone to. NHPC. Again, this is his live as it gets because I've never seen any of these, so we're doing it together. Let's see what NHCP is. Okay, again, this is like some sort of cloud data, but I don't see any land at all. Let me go look over here. So again, you can tell I've never been here because it wasn't clicked on before. So I don't even know what these are. But these are just, it's just evidence. It's just, you're not going to find something that says, haha, we're fooling the world. But it's enough data that you should be able to make up your own mind about whether or not these people are being honest. Let me go back to one more parent directory. So this was NHWV. Again, sometimes you have to sit here and wait a little bit. You might think that there's nothing in there, but then something comes up. So let's pull up one of these. This is NHWV. Very interesting. What is this? This is why I bring this stuff up. People need to, if you're smarter than I am, which is probably a good majority of you, get in here and find some evidence. I could not possibly look through all this in time. So maybe there is some stuff in here that is interesting. I wonder what that circle was. Still there. What is that circle? But hopefully you see what I'm saying. These are like cloud patterns that are being taken from the air, and then they map them onto the ball. It's not even difficult to fathom how easy that fakery would be. And these are for every day this year. It looks like this starts January. It's my birthday. But again, what is this? I don't know. So maybe somebody is, is this land? Doesn't look like it. Looks like clouds. Don't know. But if you had something up high taking images of the clouds, and then you've got the layout of the Earth below, and you just map it onto a ball, ta-da! There's your ball Earth. There's your Joe Rogan saying, there's pictures of the Earth, dude. Those are real pictures. They're not fake. And Eddie Bravo said it perfectly. He says, they look fake to me. And I agree with him. They look fake to me. And the reason why is because they're not images. Because they are fake. That's why they look fake. So, good ups for Eddie Bravo for staying in the face of Joe, the I Blow Science leader. And let's see here. Parent directory. Let's go back even further. Okay, so there's color, WV, NH, Himawari. What's this one? GER. I don't remember. Did I go to this since we've been doing? Sorry if we already did this one. No, I think I did this before. So these are GER VISIRs. Okay, so like these. And they don't let you get closer than this. So before we were able to zoom in a lot, but now look it. Just stops me right there. It's not going to let us zoom in because these aren't real images. This may be really clouds, but these are not real images of the land. These are just simple images of the land or digital representations. They map the ball on there, and that's it. Let me see what else we can find here. All right, we got a black one. Okay, don't know what that means. Let's go again. Scroll down a little further. Again, won't let me go in further than this, so I can't tell you what I think of these images, but they certainly don't look real, like I said. It's just clouds mapped. It's like those clouds we had last time, and they've mapped them onto a picture of the Earth or a digital representation. So let's go back further, just see what else we can find in here. There's lots of videos in here that I can't download. Maybe somebody else can. I can't get them. When I go to anything that has video in it, it won't let me download. It says there's an issue or something. But let's see, does this come up? Like I said, sometimes you have to wait a little while. Nope, nothing in there. And I don't know if it means there's nothing or it means I just didn't wait long enough. I don't know. Here's one that says view. Again, you can see I've never been here. Holy smokes. Motherload. What's this one? Blue. Images. I have no idea what any of this is. This is as live as it gets. Color. Yearly. Blue color PNG yearly 2001. See, these are lights. These are light. They're not images. Obviously, you can't take an image of the Earth like this. Look at this. This is crazy. These are just fakes. They're just fakes. This is what they use to map onto the Earth when they're showing you nighttime. Man, if I would have known these were in here, I'm not sure I would have done it this way because somebody needs to get all these images out of here. These are just lights. These are, I mean, this is not even real. This is just fake lighting that they map onto the ball. Wow. I had no idea this was in here. I'm going to keep looking. This is yearly blue. So we did that 2010 color PNG. Yeah, these are just fake lights. Because again, there's obviously no camera that can take a picture of the Earth this way unless it's flat and laid out like this. Yeah, good call. I see Proper Properties just said, I was looking at the chat. Somebody said no clouds at night. Let's keep going, shall we? Here's grayscale. Yearly. So this is going to be the same thing, but in gray, I guess. That's my guess. Yep. Here's your grayscale. These are all just digital images. So when they show you the Earth coming by, and I'll just show you real quick. Let's go to ISS at night, shall we? ISS night. Okay, this right here, these are what they're using. This right here, this is what they're using. They're using the images I'm showing you to create these images. These are not pictures. These are not real. This is just fake. You take that image I have, you change the color to orange, you map it on a ball. Ta-da. These are not real. And we can prove that by, let's go check out the ISS. Here's an ISS image at night. By the way, this is live. I have these both ready to go. Oh, oh yeah. You ever see sunrises like this? I see them all the time where it gets really bright and then really dark. Thank you, NASA, for giving me exactly what I'm looking for right as I go there. Thank you very much. Your crap is getting annoying. Annoying as hell. Okay, so you'll see, what are we watching here? I mean, what is this? This is a model of some type. Why is it getting bright like that and then going away? Anybody ever had a morning like that where the light keeps coming into your bedroom, then goes away, then comes back? Of course not. Because we live in reality, not in model land. They're all just, yeah, it's crazy. It's so obvious. They're just layers for people to use and play with. And I just wanted to see what this is, because this is live, by the way. And then we'll look at, this is the other view on the same craft showing nothing. But on this view, we're getting a bright sunrise and gone. I mean, people need to be smart enough. That's actually lighting up the Earth. See that? You can see the details on the Earth. How is that possible? Thank you, NASA, for putting something right in my face. Look at this. You can now see all those clouds. Now they're gone. How the hell would that work? Now it's getting really bright and then it's gone. You know why? Because this is a model. This is not really the Earth. I'm leaving this here just because it's proof, and I'm not going to go back to there real quick. I'm going to leave this so we can see exactly what I'm saying. What a joke. So where's all the lights? Over here on the dark part. Oh, of course. Womp, 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 womp. Brrr. Thank you, NASA. Oh, the high definition Earth viewing experiment is either switching cameras or we are experiencing a temporary loss of signal with the International Space Station. Sure you are. You're a bunch of liars and you have no creativity and you produce crap, and because the world has dealt with it for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you just keep pushing it out. Pocketing the money. We'll come back to this in a little bit and see what else we can find. Oh, actually, I'm going to bring this up real quick. Might as well. Look at this. Here, this is great for this video because it's reasons why I think we should question what we're told. And they, come on, show me that little image you have. They have these little tests that they've been doing. They don't tell you any information about it. What was that? I'm trying to find it, but I know the little test, the look of it. Again, this is just anybody who thinks this is what a ball would look like. This is not a ball. Okay, balls don't look like that. This is not a ball. But see this little image here? I'm trying to find that. Maybe it's at the end. It's in your thumbnail. Oh, that is not what I think it is. That's the, that is the image. Sorry. What I was trying to show you, and now I'll show you because I've already teased it out. Let me go here. Oh yeah, that's real. So real. So let me show you something they did a couple days ago. should find it easily here if I keep looking through these thumbnails, because they were the thumbnail images. Yeah, sunrise. Looks like the sun, doesn't it? So what I'm trying to find here is, there's a bunch of these in here, and if you go, and again, I'm at ustream.tv, and then you just find the NASA stuff. Okay, so this is something going on at the space station, right? That's what these are. These are live streams from the ISS. So what is this? They don't tell you anything about it. They give you no details. It's just something you see. Now, come on. For some reason, you can see why I'm pissed. There's no fast forward button. I'm going to reload this. Don't play around. Give me the button. Okay, there we go. So I'm just going to kind of go forward in these and show you something here. Okay, so what they're doing is they're doing something with this little thing of water here. They got these like coils, but watch how they transition into... Okay, watch this. I'm just going to leave it on right here. Can I... if I full screen, you won't see it right. Maybe I can. See. Do you see that any better? Watch this. Hopefully you can see this. Yeah, I think you can. Just keep watching. Watch this. Watch how the background, how these two sticks and these coils will disappear in a second. And then you'll be like given a star background. Like they're faking, I don't know. It's hard to, obviously they wouldn't be showing you what they do right on the live stream, but you'll see here in a second. Watch this. Come on, pop. I think Bob one time said they're doing some sort of plasma experiments. I don't know, but it looks like everything we've ever been shown for galaxies and nebulas. And you'll watch those two sticks and those two white things on the corners will disappear, and it will then morph to a star background, and you'll see what looks like a nebula or something. Watch. Come on. I don't want to fast forward because we'll miss the actual happening. I don't know why the quality's changing. It is on my screen too. So I'm not even sure, like, is somebody doing this experiment? Okay, look at this. Like, where did those stars come from? And then watch in a second, because that bubble's going to pop, and you're going to see like a nebula thing. Pop. So what is this to all these believers? I know that we're questioning your religion, and that's what makes you so upset. But what is going on? What is this? What are they testing here? What is... So this is happening in that little apparatus that we saw at first? And usually I'm going to fast forward it so you see there's just weird things going on. Look at this. Come on, go back. So what I don't get is, where is this being shot? They're saying that this is looking into space, or what are we seeing here? So anyway, somewhere fun to go and play around, because who knows what they're doing here. They don't tell you, which is, if there's something scientific going on here, then why wouldn't you have a little text section here saying what we're doing here is blankety blank, rather than just to keep showing this nonsense. These are clearly not stars. These are clearly just a fake background. Could even be these. I don't know what it is. or where it's even taking place, or why, or what they're doing. So anyway, show you that. Let's get back to, all right, we're done with the live stream. And let's go back to, we did that, and we did that. All right. So we're back here. I'll look at a couple more things. Again, ftp.nnvl.noaa.gov /view or whatever folder you want to get into. So that's color and grayscale. We looked at both those. Let's see here what else we've got. There's SOS files. Not sure what those are. A blue color band images. Is that where we were? Yeah, so let's go back even further. Parent directory. Parent directory. Okay, so there's tons of stuff in here. I didn't see any of these last time. Let's look at true. Images. Color. Daily. Oh, there's something. Let's see. These are 16.3 megabytes each. So again, this says true. You got your satellite little mistakes here or whatever. Got a square up here. Again, are these true images? How would you have these images? We don't know. But again, you could take those and put them into that editor I had earlier in Cartesian to Polar and get the circular map out of it. So again, if the Earth is, oh, that looked bad. What is that? This little square. So tons of pictures. I mean, each of these, how many did I say? 16 to 17 to 18 megabytes. This one's 18.2. It looks like the biggest image I see. 18.2. So those are huge images. Let's back out of here. That was daily, parent directory. So if you guys want some of these images, get in here before they shut the access down. Parent directory. Because all these, look at all these. I have no idea which one to go to. Let's go to, see if any of these sound good. SHA, snow, wind, bull, wone, woes, moise, GP. Let's go GP 45. Don't know what that means. Images. Man, I didn't see this yesterday. Color. This is a lot more images than I thought were on here. Yearly 2014. Oh, interesting. Look at this. I don't know what this is, but watch this. Look at the years. These are the years. 2006, 2007. Look how far it goes. Let's go to 2099 and see what... I don't know what this is a picture of, but it's for 2099, so they can go in the future. Now we know that. No idea what we found here. Color yearly GP45. So hopefully some people see this and get in here and pull out whatever they want or need. Go back one more. It's rain, soil, snow, images, color, daily. A lot of times yesterday too, I would sit here for a while, it wouldn't come up, and I'd hit parent directory, so now I'm just going to wait. Oh, it did come up. These are 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Let's click on here. So you'll see this is like snow, but it's a PNG layer. So it's the layer that they put over that one image of the Earth. See, these are just snow layers. So these are just all image layers that they use to build, which is evidence against the whole idea of it being images in the first place. They're just building the Earth. They're building the globe, if you will. And I'm sure different organizations, be it whoever, can download whatever they need off of the NOAA server, so you can get your cloud cover plus your rain cover, whatever. But they're just images taken from high altitude planes or balloons, mapped onto a ball or onto a flat map, depending on what you're doing. Let's see here. Let me go back one more. So anyway, somebody should get in. There's fire. We've all seen those fire images. These are fire, color. These are gonna look just like the lights, only this is monthly, weekly, yearly. I don't really know what that means, but yearly 2007. So here's the so-called fires that took place in 2007. More just PNG layers. I mean, how do I explain that? I mean, if you've ever done like PNG imaging or something, you can't take images of the fire and then how did they get it to be a PNG besides if it's a digital creation? It's digital. It's not a real picture. The time involved just to do that would be ridiculous. So I don't know. I got my night in front of me. I'm going to be looking through all these files here. There's wind, WON. I don't know what these stand for. I bet if you look them up, you can probably find out. Oh, here's a text document about WON. So I'll probably do that. Let me see what WOAN is. I'm sure you can look those all up and find out what they stand for. NOAA. NOAA research. I don't see it, but you could find, I'm sure, what each of those stands for. Let's go back here, see images, color. Let's go monthly. WON. I don't know what that is. And now we got a PNG image of the Earth here. So these are all just layers, different layers. Go back, parent directory. So anyway, you guys can find that. I won't do this live or anything. But once you get back past this, there's arrow. Well, now I'm going to do that one just because I want to. Images of arrow something, color, daily, parent directory. Oops, that's what I wanted to do. Daily. I'm waiting. There we go. Color images. I saw those stripes down there. It looked like they were so-called passes. So anyway, something definitely fun for those researchers that want to go through here and find a boatload of images. There is tons. Let me get out of here real quick. Full parent directory. So now I'm getting out of there. Where was that one at? I don't remember if that was PUB or what. And there's also SOS, which I haven't gone into yet. Fire, land temperature, ozone daily mapped, snow ice cover maps. Lots of data, lots of images. And the only thing I can't bring up is the videos, parent directory. But maybe somebody else knows how. Images, SOS, site description, view. What's in view? Oh, that's where we just were. Parent directory. I wanted to show you some of the, is it in pub? Oh yeah, so this is when you go to pub, there's a whole bunch of other stuff in here too. This is the stuff I was mostly looking at yesterday. Different hurricane images, climate. Under hidden, I couldn't, obviously hidden is probably, you can't get in there, but nothing I could get would come up. Like, let's see here, it says hidden, which is interesting. What is hidden? Let's see, night lights. But see, when I wait here, nothing happens. See, nothing. I don't know how long to wait. I'm guessing because it says hidden, it means really hidden, but I don't know. Let me get out of there. But again, nothing illegal about doing any of this. It's in an FTP server. Nepartak. These are all zip files you can download. I tried downloading a couple of them. I couldn't get anything to come up when I opened them. I don't even know what's in them. It's like Sandy. I think it's Hurricane Sandy. There's like a huge TIFF image. See this image? 309 megabytes. I tried to get it. I can't get anything to come up. Here's some oceans conference. Marine debris. Like if you go to maps. Like I said, some things will come up, some things won't. This doesn't look like there's anything in here. Unless I don't wait long enough. Catch model, credits, marine debris. Wait here. Nothing. And let's go back one more. So in here you'll also see something to do with states PNG. So there's something interesting. You see the states outlined up here. I don't know if you can see that. It's really dark. You can see Texas, New Mexico, California. You can see that. Oops. Zooming in. That's what it was doing. So there's lots of things in here. There's P. Darley Maple. See, this is like a WMV file, Pacific, but I can't get it. So it won't let me view any kind of videos or anything. So anyway, just wanted to point that out. You guys can go through that. There's a ton of stuff. These are people's names, it looks like. You go in here. Here's a Katrina PNG, 40 megabytes. Try that one. Yeah, then it says it isn't there. That image isn't there. So enjoy yourselves. Look around. If you find anything, email me, jeranism@yahoo. I would love to see what you found. Here under B-roll, usually when I go to sites and see B-roll, there's like a ton of videos. Here's NSOF time-lapse. But again, I'm not able to get any videos out of any of this. And see, nothing comes up here at all. Although if they're videos, maybe it's just because I'm not waiting long enough. We will wait and we will see. So who knows? I don't know. So I remind you guys to be kind to each other and don't lie to each other and open your mind, because there's truth inside. Till next time, guys, this has been Jeranism. Peace! Questioning schooling and everything that's going on with Common Core. This is a problem from a math test that a parent brought to everyone's attention on Facebook, and the question reads, Carol read 28 pages of a book on Monday and 103 pages on Tuesday. Is 75 pages a reasonable answer for how many more pages Carol read on Tuesday than on Monday? So for those of us math majors, first thing I looked at and said, okay, 103 pages on Tuesday and 28 on Monday. So I did the math in my head and said, okay, that's 75 pages more. Well, that's correct. So is 75 pages a reasonable answer for how many more pages Carol read on Tuesday than on Monday? Of course, anybody with any rational thinking mind would say, yes, 75 is a reasonable answer, because 103 minus 28 equals 75. Excellent answer by the child, but actually the teacher marked it wrong. -1, because you're supposed to estimate and get 100 minus 30. Because if we look up there and we say, okay, well, she read 103 pages on Tuesday, you're supposed to round that down to 100. And then you take the 28 pages on Monday, round that to 30. 100 minus 30 is 70. Therefore, the teacher was looking for the incorrect answer of 70 rather than the correct answer of 75. That is horseshit. Let's go on. So why question the great and powerful NASA? That would be the question. Why even bring them into question? And we're not the only ones. I mean, look at some creative art that I've seen around lately. NASA Destination Imagination, and we've got these little fish in these nonsense little bubbles and boxes. So we're not the only ones to question. Everyone questions them. I question them. I made this little image of Buzz Aldrin saying, "You bet your ass we're liars," rather than "get your ass to Mars," which is what the original shirt is supposed to say. But anybody who tells me that this is an image of the Earth from some ungodly distance, like 800 million miles, if I'm not mistaken, I have a problem with that. And that's where the question should start, is wondering what is going on that we are... Look at this little thing here. You can even see like the little pixels around it. But that's not the only real picture of Saturn that we get. How about this one? There's people out there, many of them probably watching this show, that actually believe that this is an...
Astronauts to the moon.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage. Mirage.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jeranism, back with another video for you today. Hopefully you can hear me, which you probably can't. So I do apologize for all the issues, as I'm trying to figure out exactly how to best present these broadcasts for you. So one second, I'm going to make sure that my volume is good. Hope everyone in the chat is doing well. And let's see here. All right, can everybody hear me? That's what I'll ask first, and make sure that everyone in the chat can. And if that's the case, then we will begin. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. To Stock Jockey, appreciate it. Everybody, hello. How is everyone? I hope you're well. I really do. So I've been trying to, as I said, present this in a effective and visually appealing manner. So hopefully that begins happening tonight. If not, it'll begin happening soon. So what I wanted to do first was to kind of go through exactly why I think we should be questioning the going model, the currently accepted model. And so we will begin that right about now. And what we're going to be beginning with is something interesting I saw. This was I thought it was funny, for myself at least. In the Urban Dictionary, someone added Jeranism, which I thought was classic. It says, the religious practice of believing only what you can prove, and then to use it in a sentence, I can't believe in space, I've decided to follow Jeranism. I thought that was very funny. So thank you to Henry Hernandez III. I wanted to go through a couple quotes real quick, just so you understand where I'm coming from and why I think it's important. Starting with a quote by Carl Sagan, who said, finding the occasional straw of truth awash in a great ocean of confusion and bamboozle requires intelligence, vigilance, dedication, and courage. But if we don't practice these tough habits of thought, we cannot hope to solve the truly serious problems that face us, and we risk becoming a nation of suckers, up for grabs for the next charlatan who comes along. I agree with that statement. Maybe not quite in the direction he was aiming it, but I do agree with the quote. The next one says, if we are not able... Oops. And I see that what's going on here. You're not seeing what I'm seeing. There you go. Happy now? Now it's better for you. All right. So the first one, I'll just go back to where I was. But basically, I was looking at this. It was a Urban Dictionary, followed by this quote I just read, and now we're going to be on this one. So, if we're not able to ask skeptical questions, to interrogate those who tell us that something is truly... I'm sorry. Let's start again. if we are not able to ask skeptical questions, to interrogate those who tell us that something is true, to be skeptical of those in authority, then we are up for grabs for the next charlatan, political or religious or scientific, who comes along rambling. So whether or not he meant for that, they're usually aiming that at religions. I, on the other hand, think that we need to aim it at everyone. So you might ask, why do we have a question, right? Why are we questioning the standard model? Well, let's look at something that Michio Kaku said that I think is hugely important, that he was quoted in the movie The Principle. He said, usually in science, if we're off by a factor of 2 or a factor of 10, we call that horrible. We say something's wrong with the theory. We're off by a factor of 10. However, in cosmology, we're off by a factor of 10 to the 120. That is a 1 with 120 zeros after it. This is the largest mismatch between theory and experiment in the history of science. So that should tell us why we have a question and why we should question the current going belief or the current going theory, the standard accepted model. And if you don't have a problem with that, well then, more power to you. Enjoy the lies as they're told to you. Let me tell you where it started for me. This was one of the biggest things in my coming along, is looking at this world map that we were all taught as children. It was in our classrooms, and realizing that there's a big problem with the equator, which should be in the middle, clearly not being in the middle. And so that's what kind of started me on my path, and just figuring out, wait a second, well, I don't understand it then. Why is the equator way down there? How does that all work out? How do maps work if the equator's wrong? I was just confused. And so that's what started me on my path. Another thing I saw recently that got me